Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Philosopher's Poet. I have a special guest today with me. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Olga. I work with crystals energy and the term, sorry, I'm going to use that. We use Starseeds.
Yeah. A little bit of history here for the audience. Olga and I kind of go back a bit. There was a time where we were part of a Starseed group, and Olga still has a Starseeds group, but we were quite active in London, especially in person, helping people develop and realize their abilities, and creating a safe space for people to accept themselves and come to an understanding of who they are. So the space wasn't just there just to say we have these abilities. It also was a space for people to feel like home, or to self-realization, I'd say, is sort of best thing I would say, because we had quite a diverse audience of people. Yeah.
Also just friends, we could actually talk to each other about this stuff rather than, most of us would go back home to real reality and then we couldn't speak anything, well, that explicitly, strangely spiritual, not just spiritual, but, like Starseed, the alien stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was good.
Mm.
And then, we made our friendships as well. You met some people, I met some people, then we had few events together as well. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. And then COVID, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like you to, I guess, tell everyone a bit more about yourself, sort of how you found your purpose.
I've been born with a knowledge that I'm not from here, if I may say so, and I found it very difficult to get used to the planet, accept the physical body, and basically learn how to become a human being. So that was a bit challenging. I went very heavily into science, trying to explain myself that, something is wrong with me and science would explain everything. And I think it was during my years at Imperial College when I had one member of the family after another, like passing away from cancer. And I just saw how little science supports, well, our existence or explains anything really, or finds even solutions. And I've seen things like, I've been involved in cancer research, and I've seen when people had no hope whatsoever, and yet there was something in their mind and they survived the event, when the doctors would give, okay, you've got 6 days to live. If you're lucky, make all the arrangements. And then some people had seemingly all the treatments available, and yet, we lost them. I think that's when I embraced more all my awareness, and I was like, okay, well, clearly I come here with this knowledge. I've been running always intuitive workshops, but always under the table, because I didn't want to be, too crazy, and kind of lots of close friends wouldn't know about it. But with passing so few close to me people, it kind of came out. And I didn't advertise or anything. I think we exist, like, this is one of our existence, the physical shell, if I may say so. It's a very extreme experience because we feel it physically, like it's very dense. It's not bad. It's just a very specific, very different experience. And I think to those of us who are more travelers, space travelers, so more aware, we find it hard because we're used to being, to experiencing several natural to us states, and the physical reality is very singular. And we do have a spiritual awareness, like a spirit self, if I think that's kind of better usage to use. And I feel on the spirit or subconscious self level, if that's easier to accept, we still communicate with each other, like you and myself, right? We didn't just come to this meeting. It's clearly that this communication has happened on some other level.
Yeah.
You didn't come into my life by chance. You were one of the first people who responded to, back then, my call, you know, Starseeds, who are you? So it's all been not prearranged, because we do have free will, but there is another work behind the curtain that's happening that we physically don't perceive. And it's not because it's forbidden or anything. It's just because we chose to have this very, even I'd say, intimate experience with this dense physical reality. So with that in mind, on the spirit level, I feel like those who were in need of more of spiritual awareness, they'd get in touch with my spirit self, because one day I just got messages within 1 week from unconnected 9, I think it was 9 people, and they all just asked for spiritual workshop. So like, I didn't have to do anything, no advertisement, nothing. Like, I wouldn't even do it. But because it was simultaneous, very concentrated impact on my psyche, so many people that I respected, and in some ways they were quite close to me, asked for the workshops, I just did it. And then I got involved into spirituality more, well, heavily. And I went to give few talks at, I think it's Los Angeles, like Consciousness Expo or something like this. It's actually quite an incredible place with lots of psychic people there. There were quite a few people talking about links with alien races. There was a lot happening. And then there, as I was giving my talks, I had this weird awareness of the word starseed. And actually, that's the first time I perceived it. And I was like, oh, is it me, Starseed? And like, no. Okay. So what do I do with it? You must use the word Starseed, and you must go back. This is like my download information. Okay. I don't have any voice. It's just, it's a download for me. Like, you must go back to London and form Starseed School, or whatever the name we had back then. And recently I had another download, because, you know, we use word Starseed to describe ourselves, and it's okay. We can do that. But a Starseed itself is actually a trigger. So I'm just thinking how to explain it. If you have an electric current, right? And let's say it's in one frequency, and then it gets a spark of something. I really don't know how to explain it more vividly, because it's not about technical, it's more about understanding what happens. And then it's like 2 sources collide of different nature. So this is electricity current, let's say, and this is something else collided. And there is an awareness expansion happening. Suddenly, it's like we wake up. So the word Starseed in itself is a trigger to wake us up. So like, you are aware that something is happening. You know that there's more to life. For some reason, we got so disconnected, we forgot this is just one of many experiences we undergoing. And the Starseed is like this jolt trigger to wake us up further and say, okay, yes, whatever it is you're perceiving, your dreams, your awareness, or, you know, like, I have a lot of jumping into different realities, and I think quite a few of us started having more of it now. So for us to accept, okay, we are not crazy, it is what it is. Starseed is this basically kind of signal code. It's interesting in a sense, it has a pattern and goes almost like breathing pattern in and out. And I've been shown it, but the way I perceive it, it's not linguistic. It's not even visual. It's more like whatever, you know, something crazy happening. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So with this, I'll stop in a second, sorry. You need to interrupt me the next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it goes like a breathing pattern, and there are times when the Starseed trigger is active,
Yeah.
and there are times when it's not active.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think it's necessary for you to explain this to the audience, because it'll be everyone from people who are unfamiliar to people who maybe on the other side have developed their own fixed ideas on and become, I guess, too fixated on the word, if you know what I mean. And I think you've made a very good point. I'll briefly just talk about how I think my experience slotted into meeting you, which was myself feeling different and initially turning to religion to answer some of those questions about myself, but then always realizing intuitively that it wasn't going to answer all those questions. It wasn't enough. So then me exploring other avenues and what people would term spirituality, and then seeing a meetup post, and then the rest is history, sort of. Um, and I think I needed that experience, but realizing, or in hindsight, realizing that experience was merely a beginning, and that everyone has their own path to branch off to in terms of how they continue with that momentum and help others or the world at various degrees or levels. And I would say that my experience was that one of the opportunities, because I think it is an opportunity and we have to take it, is for expansion. But then the shadow side of that is people can stick old paradigms into new things, which aren't really new at all. They're rediscoveries. It's like that phrase of putting new wine into old wineskins. And so people take those things in a low vibrational sense and make them something that's very segregated, very fixed, when the idea in my mind of spirituality should be transitionary, it should be fluid. um but I myself ended up actually, after moving away from the group, and not for any malicious reason anyone, it's just, we go through these cycles. I went and looked at classical philosophy, but I went more into sort of esoteric and occult. Um, and I saw it as an enrichment of the things I'd sensed and perceived, but that came initially more intellectually and then more experiential. And I think it's my way of saying that all these things are actually connected, which is the key thing, but they use different dialogues, and people perceive the entities that speak with them and transmit knowledge in their own way. But I think it's breaking down those barriers. And there are many parallels with what some starseeds would say about the idea of the order of life or evolution. And you juxtapose those with a lot of people back in the early 20th century who were receiving significant transmissions that seemed like a time period for expansion, like Blavatsky, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would you say are sort of, I guess, pivotal moments, or in your experience, not just as a teacher, as a I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
uh,
I personally feel that at the moment we are kind of dipping our toes into a new experience of reality. So this is a temporary platform, and we are embracing singularity before our next expansion, to the point that in our next existence, once we shed the shell, we may make a few of ourselves. We may go on to expansion of building other worlds and realities for some of us. And in order to do that, whoever is on this expansion journey needs copious amounts of confidence, copious amounts of self-discipline, thought process, first of all. Most people have no control over their thoughts whatsoever. And but we can see this in real life, right? There is a movement. Oh, our thoughts make our reality. They're not empty words. Delivery may be a bit, funny, or you can be anything. Yes, not quite instantly right now, because the earth is collaborative experience, many souls involved in sustaining this reality. It's only physical because a lot of us projecting our energy source to create this illusion of earth, not so much illusion of earth as illusion of physical reality. And there are other souls who also participate in that, but they don't have physical reincarnation. They work behind the scenes, so to speak. In that term, speaking simply, yes, you can be anything you want. However, in this intertwined project, it depends on everyone else's wishes.
Yeah.
But after this experience, should you progress enough in your development, should you have better control of your life in this reality, should you have better control of your thoughts, should you have better control of your ego, there is a possibility of not removing yourself completely from physicality, but creating your own reality. And I feel for many of Starseed, that could be the next journey. It could also be that after they could be like mini collaboration projects. We meet the souls we know already. And also souls, if I can expand a little bit.
Sure.
The soul construct, right? This was original I for, let's say, one of us. Then that soul construct expanded. They've produced others. So it can be that, let's say, I'm not saying that it is so, but it, very hypothetically speaking, it can be like you and myself, we could be a part of original, just one I soul contract. I don't know how many transitions, but we are so independent now. And it will happen again the same, because we are not, at this particular moment, the way I'm perceiving all the downloads, it's pure expansion for us.
And you made some very good points there about the idea of, because we're so fixated in 3D life, we can't necessarily see the obvious soul contracts or connections of soul families, because we believe that our perception of time and space are also fixed in terms of our interactions, and that we're not interacting with each other on a soul level as well. That happens, and then we're not conscious of it. Interestingly enough, in terms of the sort of collective advancements of what people perceive of themselves and reality, I think that change has to take place also with the constructs we've already created as civilizations, in terms of who we consider as, I'm going to use the word gurus for lack of a better word, but we are still very much bound by particular thought forms that we kind of, I'm going to say, really are affixed to or attached to, in terms of beliefs that we ourselves have created and others are using sometimes as a vehicle to help people progress, but they're unaware of their own limitations in so much as those teachings and teachers.
Also, I feel limitations, it's our own perception. Yeah. Okay, given it's physical reality, I want to change my hair right now, instantly, into gold, rainbow color, whatever, right? It's not happening. So we see the proof it's not happening. However, this is a denser reality, is a little bit different process, in a sense that A, many involved, and B, you may want to start thinking about it maybe like before you even plan your existence here. Because many of us, when we are born, we have been, and actually been to that place, because for my personal work progress, I had to go through another process where they've placed me, and on a human level, okay, just like, obviously don't take it too seriously, it's like a little platform, And then there are those columns with data stored for each individual reincarnation here, and each has mapped out and opportunities and possibilities and life experiences they would like to get on with.
Yeah.
No one comes here with a singular fate, first of all. It's just no.
Yeah.
What happens once you're here, because it is an extension of I. This extension of I, this Olga, right? I do have a free will. And as a result, I can be susceptible to illusionary fears, illusionary conditions. So if someone tells me whose mind force is stronger than mine, you cannot do this, I will believe that.
Yes.
No matter how well in control I am, if their mind force stronger, it'll take me time to get out of that, condition.
And that can be as real as something actually being what we'd consider, for lack of a better phrase, true. Because if you believe something under certain conditions from someone who's perceived to be stronger than you, then you also buy into the actual detriment of not believing that, in the sense of how people perceive specific things about belief systems, about let's say heaven and hell, for example, the idea of being trapped, but not because those things necessarily are the final truth, but because we ourselves actually create the position and the energy that those things are sort of will bind us, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
And if you look carefully at all the human constructs, it's about control. And control is from fear. And why it's so sensitive for children to be in relationship with their parents. You may be a grown man, you go back home, you become a little child again. Because when we are born, we have this perception that they were here first. It could be an illusionary perception, but we feel like they're helping us to experience this planetary reality. We will rebel eventually, but when we go back, the link with the family unit is still there and you'll be affected. And yeah, I mean, I feel whenever you feel that you're controlled, that's kind of a first trigger where you should be questioning yourself. Are you really continuing with your path? Have you experienced more of your expressions? And like you yourself, okay, so you've had several journeys. You've had a journey before you met me. Then we had a joint journey for a period of time. Then you ventured onto your other several journeys, as I've witnessed now. And also with COVID, look how many people changed their jobs, how many people have turned their life reality completely. There's no even perception of job for life anymore. So this what was planned with many varieties. People are now, hold on a second, I can actually try to do this crazy stuff. Or like, TikTokers, they're making money. What? It's mind-blowing. So we are experiencing new reality. Oh, we can make money in ways that we never thought was possible. And I think in a way, even if not spiritually aware, many are starting to tap into their other possibilities of expression here, and they're doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this touches nicely onto multi-dimensionality in terms of being aware of how people conceived of these more creative ideas, even if that's how they perceive it, but there's something else or another way of perceiving what was injected into the consciousness during the pandemic in terms of what we'd say is opportunity.
And then also, again, this is just a side thought, and I didn't get it. I'm self-employed. But let's say if you work for a company, right? You were literally getting paid not to go to work. How beautiful was that? I thought, but let's forget the struggles. Okay, let's just take it out of equation. Just the whole idea that you can receive income doing nothing. I mean, cool, no? Wasn't it? Maybe on forget the pandemic, everything is bad, we lost lots of lives, everything. I'm just hypothetically what I was speaking. We've experimented with an idea of getting money without doing anything. And it worked. Not for
Yeah.
everyone, but worked, right?
Yeah.
On a mass scale.
I mean, unfortunately, I was one of those people who didn't receive that, but I actually, you're right, that was a huge opportunity, a huge thing that happened. And I think it was quite empowering. I think the fact that people were getting paid not to work as well meant that they could explore other parts of themselves, because it can be quite utilitarian to turn up to work, log in, so it's almost like getting in touch with yourself as well as, creative opportunities to make an income. So yes, yeah.
It was in a way a mini variation or mini version of what could I have done with my life. Would I have access, financial access to my freedom? Again, it wasn't freedom entirely, and I'm just touching on a point that on a mass effect, that was an experiment as well in its own right. It's like, okay, here's your money. What are you going to do? Have you used it? And some people did. And it was great. I've had so many friends who completely quit their jobs, turned their life upside down, actually for the better. So I'm very happy for them.
Okay. Like this was almost like a window to another reality. I think that had kind of been manifested simply because of the circumstances, but almost prior to that, it wasn't necessarily just circumstantial. I think collectively, maybe we demanded an opportunity to facilitate a space to have the opportunity, because the idea of working for the man, this is lack of a better phrase, or the idea of not living in the sense of authenticity, was something very much, I believe, that the collective consciousness craved.
Yes, the freedom of expression, where it transcends through everything we go through. So it's not just freedom of expression at work, through work. It's not just freedom of expression of speech, through talking with everyone. It does really transcend, because we are seeking freedom. We are seeking to break chains, so to speak, on multiple levels.
Yeah.
And going back to multidimensionality, because this is like so close to heart to me, and I think to you as well. You remember how we had people coming into our lives and they're like, I believe I used to be this in previous life, I have reincarnation, Mars, etc. So for most of us, it's actually happening at the same time. So we do have other selves experiencing that reality. So if anyone is watching this and listening to us, and you have really weird dreams and you discard it, don't discard it anymore. This is your wake-up call. This is for you to know what else you're going through. And this is also to make a bit more sense what you can learn here, why you're here, why you placed yourself here. Because we can be spiritually aware, and a lot of times we open, but then once we go back to church, we close off and we're like, seriously, is that what I asked, to take my rubbish away? Like take my rubbish out, or like, is that really what I signed up for? So I feel with dreams and these feelings, I believe a starseed, I believe I live in this planet or whatever, they're valid. They may not be true representation of the events, because we need to translate into this reality. That is a condition of this reincarnation. However, on some level, you will feel, okay, it's mine, it's real, it's exciting. There's something that must be linking with the choice you made to come here.
Yeah. I would almost liken my writing, a lot of it actually, in a similar experience where I'm writing, but I'm not writing. So I'm not physically writing. I'm either writing, or part of me is writing something, I'm just not doing it on my hands, or I'm receiving the information or transmissions about what to write. But I think the interesting thing is it doesn't necessarily have to be something seemingly profound, because we can find the most profound things about ourselves in the most ordinary things, if you have the perception. And so I would say creative outlets are a massive portal or gateway to understanding who we are. It's just like everything else. The way that time is dictated in our current 3D reality is it's very like discrete, whereas life actually is continuous. It's us that stops the flow of energy because of what we'd consider as very practical reasons. And we can extend that to how we perceive reality and who we communicate with, be that someone who is off this planet or not of this planet or not of this dimension. Um,
And about opening up, expansion and opening up your third eye. You know how many
yes,
people are
yes,
obsessed with it.
yes, yeah,
And then they message me, they get crystals from me,
yeah.
like, oh, I want to open
Mm.
like, cool, but you have all information,
Yes.
you in your dream, you have this spontaneous feelings that you are somewhere else and you're experiencing. So start with accepting the information you are getting before, oh, I want to open my
Mm.
third eye. But
I think,
it's
yeah,
open.
yes. It's, I mean, that's another interesting thing. I think it's natural for us to look at the tools first before we look at ourselves and the our being open to perceiving parts of reality we shut ourselves off to. And what I mean by that is it's easy to jump to the crystal first without actually understanding that actually it's us that sort of passes on has that power or directs that force. It's not the actual object itself. The object itself helps. It has its own personalities, it has its own characteristics, but it's us that imbues it with that power. It's us that gives it something. The same way you write words on a page, but they're not simply words. They're infused with an intention. They're a spell, an emotion, a force.
It's like you will write a sentence and you think that's what it means, but then people who read your poems and your text, they'll actually connect with the frequency. So
Yeah.
they may read the same word that says home in your text and the same word that they read home when they enter their house, if they have this little, science thing. But people do perceive frequency. And I think some of the people are not aware of it yet. We also have this thing, and I won't touch it because then we can have, we're a bit too attached to certain words. I'm just trying to say that it's okay to read some words and you think they're quite boring, but there is something in them
Yes.
for me, or you think they're confusing, but I feel good after reading. It's because you're actually connecting with the frequency of the author, what he's or she, translating into this reality. It's not words. I mean, language is something we came up with in this reality, is this reality specific. And I mean, we all have to learn languages as well when we come into this reality. So
But
frequency, more natural.
language as we understand it today wasn't necessarily how we understood language 100,000, a million years ago. And it won't necessarily be what we understand as language in a million years later. It's almost like a transitionary tool or medium, a limited one, but it serves a purpose. It,
I've received this information about the same planet, but like a cycle before, many cycles before this cycle we are going. There were beings, and I think there is some information about them, luminous, on the internet. Their communication was like telepathic. However, when they projected the thought, it could travel from one point of the earth to any other point of the earth. It was like there was a signature to connect with the person. And it wouldn't be just a thought, it would be visual. And if they were to transport some topography information, it would be almost like we see 3D print of landscape with exact measurements. That's how precise their communication was. And I was like, whoa, so cool. But we don't have it now.
This almost sounds like something that's written in Theosophy about 7 civilizations. And it's something that
Okay, I
yeah,
don't know about it actually.
it's also something that I perceive, that the idea that we had the intuition first and then we became obsessed with the mind, and then we integrate the two, understanding the mind being the tool for which becomes merely a vessel for all the things that we infuse in
I
it.
just I love you saying mind is a tool. I love it. Thank you. Because people think mind it's I. No, it's exactly what you said. It's, love it. Thank you.
Yeah. And I could talk forever, but yeah, definitely. I think I'm just conscious of time here, which is a bit of a bummer. We'll have to come back and talk.
But we